The sun was low over the jagged mountains of Zarthon 4, casting long shadows across the dry, dusty plains. Lyra wiped sweat from her brow as she trudged back to her small, isolated cabin, her heart heavy with exhaustion. Life had been hard on this planet ever since the colonists abandoned it decades ago, and she had survived alone for years. She thought she knew every danger, every sound, and every corner of this barren land, yet today felt different. A strange hum broke the quiet, a sound unlike the winds or the distant cries of alien creatures. She stopped and listened, her instincts sharp as the sound grew louder, echoing across the plains. Suddenly, a figure appeared on the horizon, riding a sleek hoverbike that glowed with soft blue lights. Lyra's heart skipped a beat, unsure if this visitor was friend or foe, her hand brushing against the old blaster at her belt. The figure slowed as he approached, his eyes calm and confident, a young man barely older than a boy, yet there was a strength in him. His clothes were rugged, dust-streaked, but his posture was straight and assured, a stranger in a strange land. Lyra tensed, ready to shout or fire, but something in his gaze stopped her, a quiet honesty that made her hesitate. "Evening," he called, his voice low but steady. "I saw you from afar, thought you might need help." Lyra frowned, unsure if she could trust him. "I don't need help," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I can manage on my own." He smiled faintly, not offended, and gently set his bike down, dust rising around him like a small cloud. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said. "I just saw danger coming your way, thought you should know." Before she could respond, a shrill screech pierced the air, and Lyra froze, eyes widening. From the trees at the edge of her property, a creature emerged, claws sharp, scales shimmering in the fading light. Her pulse raced as it charged, moving faster than she expected, teeth bared, ready to strike. Lyra's hand went to her blaster, but before she could aim, the young cowboy leaped forward, pulling a small energy shield from his belt. The shield flared to life, stopping the creature mid-charge, sparks flying as it struggled against the force. Lyra gasped, unsure if this was real or some trick, but the cowboy's calm eyes told her he knew exactly what he was doing. With a quick motion, he activated a small device that emitted a high-pitched pulse, and the creature stumbled, then ran back into the forest. Lyra's knees went weak, relief and amazement flooding her. "How did you—" she began, but he only nodded, humble and quiet. Night was falling fast, painting the sky in shades of deep orange and purple, the stars beginning to peek out. Lyra realized the danger of being alone, how quickly life could end here on Zarthon 4, and something in her chest ached for comfort. The young cowboy looked at her, his gaze steady. "You should rest," he said softly. "It's not safe to stay awake out here alone." Lyra hesitated, pride warring with exhaustion, then slowly nodded, realizing she had no choice. He set up a small portable shelter nearby, its lights gentle and warm, a strange but comforting presence in the wild plains. She watched him move with care, preparing for the night, sensing that he planned to stay, though she did not yet understand why. As she settled by her own small fire, she whispered to herself, "I'm too old for this, too tired. Maybe it's over for me." Yet the cowboy sat nearby, silent but alert, watching the shadows, ensuring no harm would come to her. Lyra's mind raced, questions and doubts mixing with a strange sense of hope. For the first time in years, she did not feel completely alone, though she could not yet trust the calm stranger fully. The wind howled across the plains, carrying the distant cries of alien creatures. Lyra shivered, not from the cold, but from the realization that her life was changing, whether she wanted it or not. The young cowboy remained there through the night, vigilant, a silent guardian in the dark, and though she whispered that it was over for her, she could not ignore the quiet promise in his presence, a hope she had long forgotten. The night stretched on, strange sounds echoing around them, shadows moving between the trees. Lyra's eyes could not leave him, the mystery of his arrival, his calm bravery, pulling her attention despite herself. Something had shifted in her heart, a tiny spark of trust, a flicker of courage, and as the first stars glimmered overhead, she realized that maybe, just maybe, this night was the beginning of something new. The stars glimmered faintly above the barren plains of Zarthon 4, casting silver shadows across Lyra's small cabin. The wind whispered strange secrets through the alien trees, carrying scents she could not name and sounds she could barely recognize. The young cowboy sat near the fire, quiet and watchful, his eyes scanning the darkness, his fingers brushing over a small, glowing device. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest, equal parts fear and curiosity. She could not understand why he had stayed, yet she was grateful. The air felt alive, charged with tension, as if the planet itself was watching them, waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, a soft rustle came from the nearby forest, a subtle movement that made Lyra freeze, her hand twitching toward her blaster. The cowboy raised a finger, signaling her to stay calm, his gaze sharp, his body moving like a predator ready to strike. From the shadows, small creatures began to emerge, their eyes glowing faintly, their claws clicking softly on the rocks. Lyra swallowed hard, fear rising, yet she could not look away. The cowboy whispered, "Stay behind me. Don't make sudden moves," his voice steady, commanding, yet gentle. He reached into his belt and pulled out a small, sleek weapon, humming with energy, a bright beam cutting through the darkness. The creatures hissed, recoiling at the light, but they did not flee entirely. Circling, testing, probing, curious yet dangerous, Lyra's hands shook, but she felt a strange thrill, a sense of excitement she had not known for years. The young cowboy moved like a shadow, silent yet fast, his weapon flicking from one creature to another, stunning them with precise blasts. He did not strike to kill, only to protect, only to keep her safe. And she could not help but feel admiration, mixed with awe. Her thoughts raced, questions forming, yet she dared not speak, afraid to break the tense rhythm of the night. Then, a louder sound erupted from the forest, a deep, guttural growl that shook the ground beneath them. The creatures scattered for a moment, hiding in the underbrush, and Lyra's eyes widened in alarm. The cowboy's jaw tightened, his stance firm, and he muttered, "They are not alone." From deeper in the darkness, a massive figure emerged, larger than any creature she had seen, its eyes burning red and its claws sharp as razors. Lyra gasped, backing away, her mind screaming that it was over. Yet the cowboy stepped forward, unafraid, his presence a shield against the terror. He activated another device, a small orb that floated in the air, spinning and emitting a high-frequency pulse. The massive creature froze, its growl turning into a confused snarl. Then it turned back into the shadows, retreating for now. Lyra's knees went weak, relief and astonishment mingling in her chest. She could not comprehend the power this young man wielded. The night seemed endless, strange sounds continuing, creatures moving just beyond sight, testing, probing, and waiting. Lyra realized that she had estimated the dangers of this planet, and she had underestimated him. The cowboy glanced at her briefly, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You are safe for now, but you must trust me if we survive the night." She nodded slowly, unsure if it was trust or gratitude, or perhaps something deeper stirring in her heart. Hours passed, the fire burning low, casting flickering shadows across their faces. Lyra could not sleep, fear and fascination keeping her eyes wide, yet she felt safer than she had in years. The cowboy remained alert, silent yet alive with energy, moving occasionally to adjust sensors, checking for threats. She whispered to herself, "I thought it was over for me, but maybe it is not." A sudden movement to the far side of the clearing made her gasp. The cowboy's hand shot out, gripping hers gently, pulling her down behind a rock. Two glowing eyes appeared, staring at them from the darkness, curiosity and malice in equal measure. Lyra's breath caught, her heart racing, yet she felt a strange thrill, the danger electrifying the air. The cowboy's voice was low. "Do not move. Let me handle this." And with a flick of his wrist, a bright flash sent the creature retreating. He looked at her, calm and steady. "You see, the night is dangerous, but we are stronger together." Lyra nodded, feeling something shift inside her, a spark of hope, courage, and perhaps trust that she had buried long ago. The night stretched on, strange, suspenseful, powerful, and she realized that the cowboy staying the night was more than protection. It was a promise that her life, though full of danger, was not over, that the stars still held adventure and meaning, And as she watched him move through the darkness, ready for anything, she whispered to herself, a small smile forming. Maybe, just maybe, I am not too old for this after all. The first light of dawn barely touched the jagged peaks of Zarthon 4, painting the horizon in shades of silver and violet, Lyra stirred by the dying embers of their fire. Her eyes tracing the silhouette of the young cowboy, still alert, still scanning the shadows. She realized sleep had not come easy for either of them, the night full of unknown threats and strange sounds that whispered of danger. Her chest tightened, a mix of fear and curiosity swirling inside her. She could not deny the strange bond forming in such a short time. The cowboy noticed her watching and finally broke the silence, his voice calm but carrying weight. There is more out here than you know, he said, his eyes scanning the alien horizon. I did not come here by accident, Lyra frowned, confusion and suspicion rising. What do you mean? Who are you really? He hesitated for a moment, then spoke. I travel the galaxy, helping people who are in danger, solving problems that most cannot even see. Lyra blinked, trying to process his words, her heart racing. The galaxy? You mean you are not from here? He shook his head slightly. No, I come from many places, but I choose where to be. I saw you, and I knew you would need help tonight. A small smile tugged at his lips, but his eyes remained serious. There are forces moving across these lands that most cannot face alone. Lyra's breath caught, fear mingling with awe. And you are willing to face them for me? Before he could answer, a low rumble echoed across the plains, shaking the ground beneath them. Lyra turned toward the sound, her pulse quickening, and the cowboy rose, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. From the distant hills, shapes began to emerge, massive alien silhouettes moving with precision, not wild animals but organized, intelligent beings. Lyra's eyes widened, dread filling her chest. She realized that last night was only a taste of the true danger. The cowboy activated a holographic map, projecting it above his palm, showing the movements of the creatures. They are scouts, he saw. Aid, his voice tense but steady. They are testing the land, learning who is strong and who is weak, and they will return. Lyra swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the table beside her. How can we fight them? We are alone here. He looked at her, calm yet intense. We are not alone. Together we have skills, courage, and knowledge they do not expect. A sudden movement from the forest caught her eye, and Lyra gasped, instinctively stepping back. A small lithe alien appeared, watching them with curious eyes, but instead of attacking, it made a strange clicking sound, almost like a greeting. The cowboy knelt slowly, careful not to frighten it. It is observing us. Some creatures are not enemies, they are scouts, messengers, observers. Lyra's confusion deepened. And the others? The ones last night? The massive one? They are soldiers, he said, and they follow orders. Tonight we survived by luck and skill, but the real challenge is coming. The alien scout moved closer, circling them, its small body glowing faintly, and Lyra realized it was almost intelligent, curious about them. The cowboy studied it. It may help us if we understand it. Intelligence comes in many forms, and not all threats are obvious. Lyra nodded, her mind racing, part of her still afraid, but another part intrigued, seeing the strange balance of danger and possibility. Hours passed as they observed the movements of other creatures in the distance, learning patterns, preparing strategies. The cowboy shared more of his secrets. I am trained to survive, to protect, and to anticipate threats. That is why I came to you. I sensed danger before it arrived. Lyra's heart softened, understanding that his presence was not random, not selfish, but deliberate, a shield for the night. Her mind whispered that perhaps she had been too quick to give up on hope, too quick to think she was alone in this harsh world. A sudden screech cut through the air, and Lyra's blood ran cold, shadows moving faster now, larger forms approaching. The cowboy stood, energy weapons humming softly, sensors glowing on his suit. They are coming. Prepare yourself. Lyra's hand trembled, but she nodded, ready to face whatever came, trusting him more than she had ever trusted anyone. The night had already tested them, but the coming dawn promised a greater trial, a test of courage, trust, and the unknown power within them both. As the first rays of light fell across the plains, Lyra realized that her life was no longer hers alone. The cowboy's presence, his bravery, his secrets, all intertwined with hers now, and she whispered softly to herself, maybe it is not over for me. And with that thought, she readied herself for the approaching danger, knowing that together they were stronger than any threat the galaxy could send. Darkness pressed in around them, thicker than before, the forest and plains of Zarthon 4 alive with shifting shadows. Lyra's heart raced, every rustle and distant howl setting her nerves on edge. Yet she stood close to the young cowboy, trusting him more than she could admit. He moved with silent precision, energy weapons humming softly, sensors flickering with blue light, scanning for danger. The alien scouts they had observed earlier were no longer alone, a larger force moving through the night, silent but deadly. Suddenly, a deafening screech split the air, and a massive creature lunged from the shadows, its claws tearing the ground as it charged. Lyra's breath caught, fear gripping her chest, but the cowboy stepped forward without hesitation, his weapon flaring with a bright pulse. The creature froze mid-leap, sparks flying from the force shield he had activated, and Lyra realized he was not just brave, he was brilliant. With quick movements, he released a small orb that emitted a high-frequency wave, sending the creature stumbling backwards, snarling in confusion. Lyra watched, frozen in awe, as more creatures emerged from the darkness, moving in perfect coordination, circling them. "This is not random," the cowboy whispered, his eyes scanning the movement. "They are organized, trained to hunt." Lyra's fingers trembled, yet she held her ground, drawing strength from his calm determination. The creatures tested them, darting in and out, claws flashing, teeth glinting in the firelight. But the cowboy anticipated every move. Suddenly, one massive creature broke from the pack, larger than the others, its eyes glowing red and filled with malice. It lunged straight for Lyra, her scream cutting through the night, and instinctively, she froze, paralyzed with fear. The cowboy reacted instantly, stepping between her and the beast, energy shield flaring, his weapon striking with precision. The creature roared, claws scraping sparks from the rocks, yet he stood firm, a wall of bravery and skill, protecting her from harm. Lyra's heart pounded, her fear turning into a mix of terror and admiration. How can you be so calm?" she whispered, barely audible over the roars and screeches. He glanced at her briefly, eyes steady. "Focus, trust me, and we survive." With a flick of his wrist, another orb floated into the air, emitting blinding light, stunning the massive creature and sending it staggering back into the shadows. But the attack was far from over. Smaller creatures swarmed, testing their defenses, darting from the trees and underbrush. The cowboy moved like lightning, his weapons precise and deadly, yet not lethal, aimed to neutralize threats without unnecessary harm. Lyra found herself moving instinctively, following his instructions, helping where she could. A strange mix of fear and exhilaration. For the first time in years, she felt alive, adrenaline coursing through her, realizing she was stronger than she thought. The creatures retreated briefly, regrouping, and Lyra could hear their eerie calls, a language she did not understand, yet felt in her bones. The cowboy whispered, "They are communicating, planning, waiting for an opening." Lyra's mind raced, realizing the night was far from over, and the real test had only begun. Her trust in him deepened, a strange bond forming in the heart of danger, stronger than fear, stronger than solitude. Suddenly, a shadow moved faster than she could see, aiming for the cowboy, and she screamed. He turned, catching it with a skillful strike, flipping the creature over with a small shockwave device. Lyra gasped. You saved yourself and me at the same time." He only smiled faintly, tense, yet calm. "It's about survival, and we survive together." The night stretched on, every moment a test of courage, every movement a challenge. Lyra realized that she was no longer the same woman who had whispered that her life was over. The cowboy's presence, his bravery, his skill, and his calm resolve had changed everything. Even in the darkest hour, with the deadliest creatures surrounding them, hope had returned, fragile yet undeniable. And as the first hints of dawn began to pierce the horizon, painting the plains with silver light, Lyra whispered softly, more to herself than anyone else, Maybe it is not over for me." The cowboy stood beside her, vigilant, ready for whatever might come next. Together they had survived the midnight attack, but the galaxy still held secrets, threats, and adventures waiting beyond the horizon. The first light of dawn barely touched the jagged plains, yet the air was thick with tension. Lyra's muscles ached from the night's terror, but she remained alert, every sound and movement amplified in her senses. The young cowboy moved beside her, a silent guardian, eyes scanning every shadow, every rustle, ready for the next attack. Suddenly, a deafening roar erupted from the distant hills, shaking the ground beneath them, and Lyra's heart leapt into her throat. From the shadows, a massive alien beast emerged, larger and more terrifying than any they had faced before. Its glowing eyes locked onto Lyra, and it charged with terrifying speed, claws tearing through the dry earth. Lyra froze, fear gripping her chest, her breath caught in her throat as the creature barreled toward her. The cowboy shouted, "Move!" and lunged forward, placing himself between her and the beast, energy shield flaring with bright light. The creature struck the shield with a deafening crash, sparks flying, shaking the ground. Yet he stood firm, unyielding. Lyra watched, astonished as he analyzed the beast, predicting its movements, dodging strikes, countering with precise energy pulses. The beast roared again, furious, and attempted a sideways strike, knocking him to the ground. Lyra gasped, fear exploding in her chest. But before she could react, he rolled away, sprang to his feet, and fired a powerful stun orb. The alien stumbled, momentarily dazed, and the cowboy grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her behind him. "Stay close, don't look away," he said, voice calm but urgent. "We have to end this before it recovers." Lyra nodded, heart racing, following him through the rocky terrain as he led the creature into a narrow canyon. The walls of the canyon amplified the beast's roars, echoing like thunder, but the cowboy remained focused, a master of strategy and courage. He activated a small device, a bright pulse shooting into the sky, creating a temporary force field that funneled the creature toward a trap. Lyra's eyes widened as she saw the precision of his plan. Realizing this was no random defense, it was carefully orchestrated. The creature lunged one last time and the cowboy triggered the trap, energy nets wrapping around it, immobilizing its massive form. Lyra gasped, relief flooding her, yet adrenaline still surged through her veins. She had never felt so alive, so terrified, and so amazed. The cowboy turned to her, brushing dust from his jacket, a smile on his lips. "Are you okay?" Lyra nodded, speechless, her chest heaving. I think so, thanks to you." He shrugged slightly, humble but proud. "We survived together. That is what matters." For the first time since his arrival, Lyra allowed herself to look at him fully, seeing not just a protector, but someone extraordinary, someone she could trust. The forest was quiet now, the creatures gone, retreating into the shadows. But the tension lingered, a reminder that danger was never far. Lyra's mind raced with questions, her fear slowly turning into admiration, and maybe something more. She realized that the young cowboy had stayed the night not just to save her, but to show her that she was not alone. The bond between them strengthened in the quiet aftermath, built on courage, trust, and shared peril. As they walked back toward her cabin, the first rays of sunlight illuminating the alien landscape, Lyra whispered softly to herself, Maybe it is not over for me." The cowboy glanced at her, eyes gentle but alert. "It's never over as long as you fight and trust yourself." She smiled faintly, a flicker of hope and strength returning to her heart, something she had thought lost forever. Suddenly, a sharp sound came from the distance, a new threat approaching, and Lyra froze. The cowboy held up a hand, calm and confident. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Lyra felt courage surge through her, the fear of the night replaced by determination, a strange mix of excitement and trust. The galaxy was vast, filled with danger, mystery, and unknown adventures, yet she no longer felt helpless. She realized in that moment that staying alive, surviving the night, and facing the unknown had changed her. The young cowboy had not just protected her, he had awakened something within her, a fire she thought had died, and as they prepared for whatever the horizon would bring, Lyra knew one thing with certainty: her life was no longer over. The night had been survived, and together they could face anything. The first rays of sunlight stretched across the jagged plains of Zarthon 4, painting the horizon with gold and violet hues. Lyra blinked against the bright light, her body sore but alive, her mind replaying the events of the night. The young cowboy sat nearby, tending to his devices, scanning the surroundings, never letting his guard down. She realized how much she had underestimated the dangers of this planet, yet even more, how much she had underestimated him. "Did they all leave?" she asked softly, her voice still trembling from the adrenaline of the night. He shook his head slightly, eyes serious. "No, some remain. Scouts will return. The danger is not gone, only delayed." Lyra swallowed hard, the weight of the truth pressing on her, but a strange calm settled over her. She had survived the night, faced creatures she could not have imagined, and now, standing here with him, she felt stronger than before. He looked at her, calm yet intense. "You are stronger than you think, Lyra. Stronger than you give yourself credit for." She hesitated, unsure if she should speak, but the words tumbled out. "I thought it was over for me. I thought I would never survive another night alone." The cowboy's gaze softened. "That is why I stayed. Not just to protect you, but to remind you that hope is never gone, even in the darkest moments." Lyra's heart raced, emotions swirling in her chest, fear mixing with admiration, gratitude, and something she could not yet name. She realized that this stranger, this young cowboy, had become more than a protector. He was a guide, a companion, someone who saw the courage she had buried. The alien landscape seemed less threatening now. The strange trees and jagged rocks bathed in the golden sunlight. Yet the memory of the creatures, the midnight attack, kept her senses sharp, aware that the galaxy still held dangers unseen as they prepared to gather their supplies. Lyra noticed subtle changes in the land, tracks leading toward the distant hills. The cowboy observed them carefully, his brow furrowed. Scouts are moving again, testing the area, learning. Lyra's pulse quickened, a mix of fear and excitement surging. She had faced danger before, but now it felt different, more real. She realized that survival was not just about fighting, it was about understanding, anticipating, and trusting each other. The morning was quiet, yet suspense lingered in every shadow, every rustle of the wind. Lyra felt a strange bond growing between them, born of shared peril and mutual trust, a connection she had never experienced before. "You stayed the night," she said softly, almost a whisper. "Even when you could have left, you stayed." He nodded, eyes scanning the horizon. "I stay where I am needed. And tonight, you needed me." Lyra's mind raced, questions she had long ignored coming to the surface. Why me? Why here? Why this planet? The cowboy's gaze met hers, calm but unreadable. "Because the galaxy chooses in ways we do not understand, and sometimes it places the right people together at the right time." Her heart fluttered, a mixture of fear, hope, and something stronger stirring inside her. She realized that her life, though filled with danger, was no longer a series of lonely nights. It was intertwined with his, their fates connected. Suddenly, a distant flash of light caught their attention, far beyond the hills, bright and fleeting. The cowboy stiffened, scanning the horizon. Not scouts. Something larger, something coming from beyond this sector. Lyra's breath caught, adrenaline surging, a thrill of fear and anticipation mingling. She realized the adventure was far from over, that the galaxy held mysteries and threats that they could not yet comprehend. The young cowboy turned to her, steady and resolute. "Oh, whatever comes next, we face it together." Lyra nodded, courage flooding her, the memory of the night's dangers no longer paralyzing. She felt alive, ready, stronger than ever, realizing that staying alive, surviving the unknown, had awakened a fire she thought was lost. And as they prepared to move toward the distant horizon, the unknown light flickering in the distance, she whispered softly, maybe it is just the beginning." The cowboy's gaze remained on the horizon, his presence steady and unyielding, a promise of protection, adventure, and hope. The plains of Zarthon 4 stretched before them, beautiful, dangerous, and full of secrets. Together, they stepped forward, ready to face the next challenge, knowing that the galaxy was vast, perilous, yet filled with endless possibilities. The horizon blazed with alien sunlight, painting the plains of Zarthon 4 in gold and crimson. Lyra and the young cowboy moved cautiously, senses sharp, every shadow a potential threat. The distant flash of light from the morning had grown stronger, a flickering signal from far beyond the hills. The air was thick with anticipation, danger, and possibility, and Lyra felt her heart pound with a strange mixture of fear and excitement. "They are coming," the cowboy whispered, voice steady, eyes scanning the distant ridge. "Something larger than before, something we cannot ignore." Lyra's fingers tightened around the edge of her gear, adrenaline surging, yet a strange calm settled over her. She realized she was no longer the frightened, helpless woman of yesterday, the fire within her alive. She nodded. "Then we face them, together." And a spark of courage flared in her chest. From the shadows, massive shapes began to move, faster than the eye could follow. Alien warriors armed with energy weapons, their formation precise and intimidating. Lyra's breath caught, fear gripping her momentarily, but the cowboy stood firm, energy shield raised, devices humming with quiet power. "Stay close," he commanded, voice calm, but urgent. "We fight smart, we fight together." Lyra nodded, heart racing, knowing that tonight would test everything they had learned, everything they were. The alien warriors charged, their synchronized movements like a storm of claws and glowing energy. The cowboy fired precision blasts, disabling drones and minor attackers, his strategy flawless. Lyra moved beside him, helping where she could, deflecting small creatures and assisting in traps he had set. Their teamwork seamless, trust unspoken, yet stronger than any words could convey. Suddenly the largest creature emerged, glowing red and terrifying. The same one from the midnight attack, now leading the alien army. It lunged toward Lyra, faster than she could react, and for a moment, her fear surged. The cowboy leapt forward, intercepting it with his shield, energy sparks flying, the force of the blow shaking the ground. Lyra watched, heart in her throat, realizing he was risking everything to keep her safe, a silent promise in every movement. With a quick flick, he activated a powerful pulse orb, stunning the massive creature and sending it stumbling back. He grabbed her hand, pulling her to safety as smaller attackers closed in. "Move!" he shouted, and they sprinted toward a natural canyon, the only cover in the open plains. Lyra's mind raced, fear and exhilaration mingling, yet she felt a strange thrill, alive and empowered, ready to face the unknown. In the narrow canyon, the cowboy set a trap, energy nets and flash devices glowing brightly. The alien army followed, confident, yet unaware of the hidden dangers. And one by one the creatures were neutralized or trapped. Lyra gasped, awe and relief flooding her, realizing how brilliant he was, not just brave but strategic, calculating and precise. The largest creature roared in frustration, trapped but not defeated, its glowing eyes filled with rage, yet, for now they were safe. Breathing heavily, Lyra turned to the cowboy. I never imagined I could survive this." He smiled faintly, brushing dust from his jacket. "You survived because you trusted yourself and because we trusted each other." Her heart swelled, admiration and gratitude mixing with something deeper, a bond forged in fire, danger, and courage. She realized that staying alive, facing impossible odds had changed her, awakened strength she had forgotten. The sun rose higher, painting the plains with warmth and light, yet distant shadows hinted that the galaxy was still vast, mysterious, and dangerous. The cowboy turned to her, calm and resolute. "This is not the end, Lyra. The universe holds more challenges, more adventures, but together, we are ready." Lyra nodded, courage surging, hope burning brightly. "Then let's face whatever comes next." For the first time in years, she felt truly alive, truly ready to embrace life, danger, and the unknown. They stepped forward side by side, the plains of Zarthon 4 stretching endlessly before them, beautiful, dangerous, and full of secrets. Lyra whispered softly to herself, "Maybe. This is the beginning, not the end." The cowboy glanced at her, eyes gentle yet watchful, a promise of protection, courage, and companionship unspoken but understood. And as the distant stars began to twinkle faintly in the early morning sky, the galaxy awaited, vast, perilous, and full of possibilities. Together, they walked into the horizon, stronger, braver, and ready to face the universe. For though the night had tested them, it had also shown them the power of trust, courage, and human spirit, and Lyra knew one thing with certainty. Her life was no longer over. The young cowboy had stayed the night, and now, nothing could hold them back. The galaxy theirs to face, adventure and hope, shining as brightly as the dawn itself.